Onib Olmedo's expressionistic art shows deep sympathy to the travails of the marginalized of society. Although we already lost Onib and his great art, he leaves with us a legacy of fine craftsmanship. And joining us is Onib's widow, Bettina Olmedo, who says that her husband's art continues to be relevant today as it was during the martial law years. And we are celebrating a retrospective that he had at the CCP, or we celebrated a retrospective. And we can't go to the exhibit anymore, can we? Is it still there?
No, but I have the audiovisual.
Okay,
you know, I'm planning
yes.
to show that in all schools.
I see.
Fine art schools.
Yeah. I never knew that Onib, how old was he when he passed away, Bettina?
Only 59. Yeah.
Only 59?
He hadn't even reached his 60th year. And he was saying, wow, we're almost in the year 2000. It's the new millennium. And, you know, he was confident that he would live long enough to see the new century.
Oh, you mean he never made it to 2000?
He died in 1996.
1996.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
4 years shy.
Okay, right. You did mention that. Now, well, in the beginning, I do have some Olmedos, but in the beginning, it was like, well, because he started with grotesque figures. And during the retrospective in the exhibit which I attended, you did give a short story about that. Why did he really start with those distorted facial features already, or was he a realist in the beginning?
Well, during his student days, he used to paint these, you know, romantic landscapes, but he was still very young then, and he was just painting as a hobby. So if you go to the houses of his family, you know, his cousins, his aunties, you wouldn't recognize them as Onibs because they're really pretty landscapes.
Okay.
And then later on, he became an architect. As you know, he graduated with an architecture degree. He finished 7th in the board exam, and then he practiced with his friend Manolo Evalle. But you know, it wasn't a very successful practice because Onib is not the type who collects. Even with his paintings, he used to give them away.
Oh, really?
So I mean, for him, you know, art is supposed to be shared. He wasn't the type who was after money.
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, as many artists in the beginning do, he really flourished during the martial law years.
Well, he started painting in the late 60s, and then he was able to have enough paintings to put up his first one-man show in 1971. And, you know, he was really an activist. So his art was
And his
really
subjects were?
His art was social commentary, really. He wanted to, you know, he would, as you pointed out in your intro, he would show the poor, the oppressed, the marginalized. But, you know, his theme was always the human spirit will prevail in the end, in spite of all the anguish, the daily struggles. So his paintings always have an ennobling and uplifting quality.
And it was easy for you to understand his art?
No, actually not. Well, there was a time during the 70s, you know, that was really the Eric Torres calls that the Hall of Horrors. Because that was the time he really painted these skeletal, emaciated individuals. Because, you know, what he wanted to show was the psyche of the person, you know, all our inner demons, our anguish, our pain. And so it was really horrifying, frightening. His paintings were. Can I tell you a story about one of the paintings?
Sure, go ahead, yes.
Yeah. They used to have a driver, no, who stayed with them for maybe 40 years. And then, of course, when he was too old to drive, he retired, but he had many children, no? And then one day, the driver showed up in their house carrying a child who was really about to die already. And, you know, Onib captured that on canvas. He showed the man carrying like a carcass, you know, like a corpse. And
really?
He put flies to denote that, you know, this was already decaying. When I saw it, you know, I really cringed because it was really frightening, but they are very powerful images. And, you know, he really had a point in drawing those things.
And there were buyers even then for this kind of art?
Not right away.
Not right
as I
away.
told you, just way ahead of his time. Yeah. Because at that time, Filipinos were used to pretty
Well, the
ornamental.
Amorsolos.
Yeah, you know, and I don't want to mention names, but anyway, yeah, they were used to genre art, you
Right,
know, those
yes.
depicting fiestas. You know, the way Filipinos are on the outside, we're a happy people.
Yes.
Sometimes, I think we're weeping inside, but we don't show it.
Okay.
It's the inside weeping that Onib used to capture. See, but all the other artists, you know, pretty paintings,
Yes.
planting in the fields.
Right. Or the colors of
bright
HR, for
colors.
example. Yeah, bright colors. Yes.
Yes.
So he was one of the more maybe courageous ones.
Yeah.
He was a brave expressionist.
Yeah.
And how do you call that kind of art?
Figurative expressionism.
Okay, figurative expressionism.
Yeah, of course, it's not the only one. No? Let me underscore that. The ones who are known for that kind of painting, for those kinds of paintings are, aside from Onib, as you know, Ang Kyukok. Ang's Kyukok. they
Ang's
call him
Kyukok.
Ang's.
And I used to cringe just looking at all the
Yeah.
boned,
Yes.
the bones of fish or animals with
Because-
sharp teeth and
Yeah,
stuff.
he was influenced by the Mexican artist Rufino Tamayo. And so he would come out with this horrifying, angry, ferocious dogs. You remember that? And,
right.
and the fighting cocks. That one, you know, it really screams and it.
And
And
then, of
it-
course, today, I mean, an Ang Kyukok could
Yeah,
easily
he's a
fetch
national artist.
2 million pesos
Yeah.
for a small painting.
Yeah, but they asked me, what's the difference between the expressionists? It's like this. Ang Kyukok started out as a cubist. That means he would reconstruct the human figure, show it in fragments, and then the fragments show different perspectives simultaneously. So it's upside down, inside out, right side up. That's cubism, no?
Yes.
So that's how it started out. That's why even later when he went into these dogs and all these frightening things, you could still see traces of the cubism. See,
I
Onib was
see.
never a cubist.
Okay.
So the way he deconstructs the human figure, it's different. It's just distortion. And he wants to show an implosive impact. That means it's an inward journey. The viewer is led into the insides of the man,
Right.
the inner turmoil, the psychic devastation. All of us have that. No?
Right.
We
We
I
just
mean,
don't admit it, maybe,
yeah,
or we can't
as
identify
the
it.
psychiatrists know about it, but nobody goes to psychiatrists in the Philippines. So.
Right.
But this comes out in our subconscious, in our dreams, in our nightmares. You know,
Or the way we relate to people.
well, no, but Filipinos are very, I think, we're not open.
Yes.
We have so many layers. And Onib would remove all those layers. You know, I've always been in PR. We're exactly the opposite because in PR, you try to project the best image of the company.
Yes.
No? You want people to forget all about the bad points. All you project is the beautiful, the good, you know, those things.
Yes.
Kasi Onib, walang image. He wanted to remove all the images and really go to the inside of the psyche, the core of the human person.
So how did his art evolve? How did the art evolve with the man? I mean, towards the end or the latter years of his life, did it change? Did he start painting happier pictures?
Let me explain how it evolved. At the start, his paintings always used to tell a story, and he was concerned with particularities, like he would put props that would denote that this is a siopaw vendor, no? Or this one is a construction worker. He would put a shovel. Now later on, he focused more on universalities. That means he removed all the peripheral things. That's why a lot of the paintings, they always ask, bakit puro kalbo? Yung mga paintings ni Onib, because he was in that stage now where he was removing all the peripheral things. For him, hair is something peripheral.
Okay.
So
Well, they do say that about the balding or the bald, that they are the
it's
more evolved
peripheral.
species. You do without what you don't need.
it's not essential.
It's not essential. Like if we did come from monkeys and we lost the tail and we lost everything else that didn't matter, then hair would be the next to go.
Oh.
So the bald ones are the more